It is now easier than ever to farm for Arcanes in Warframe. In this video, I will show and explain the method that I'm talking about, as well as other methods, and giving my opinion on them. There are many different ways to farm Arcanes in Warframe, and the biggest thing about farming Arcanes is time, which is everything about Warframe, but also efficiency in farming Arcanes, plus the time you need to have in the game in order to farm these Arcanes efficiently. Before I mention the method I prefer and feels the easiest, I really want to focus on another great method, which is Arcane Dissolution. Arcane Dissolution is very simple, and this is where the other methods I mentioned in the video will come into play. Basically, you go to Lloyd and dissolve your Arcanes with him. When you do this, it will give you a certain amount of Phosphor, based on the rarity of your Arcane. You cannot dissolve Arcanes that are upgraded. They can only be single Arcanes. However, if you have 6 of a single Arcane, you can sell all 6. They just can't be combined. Once you dissolve enough for 200 Phosphor, you can purchase a pack of 3 Arcanes from specific places in Warframe. For example, the Eidolon or Cetus pack. This pack has all of the Arcanes that are dropped from Eidolons, which in my opinion are the best Arcanes. Most of them at least. These Arcanes not only sell well, but they are great for your frames. But you can purchase any pack you want. Whichever has the Arcanes you want is obviously the one that you should go for. You will need 50,000 credits for these packs along with the 200 Phosphor I mentioned. This is pretty simple to do, it just requires a lot of farming of useless Arcanes, which is where the easy method and other methods come into play, especially the one that I like the best. And just a quick mention, to keep up with the theme of the Cavia, which is where Lloyd is located at, Bird 3 can also give some Arcanes. These aren't amazing, not like other Arcanes, but if you have some standing and you want these, then Bird 3 is another option. This is just another option in getting Arcanes, as I'll mention the other basic ways like offerings later on in this video. Now the reason you clicked on this video, the best, easiest, and by far my favorite method in farming Arcanes, Ascension. Ascension is a new mode or mission added to Warframe. It is located on Uranus, and when a specific mode is selected, you will face a lot of the new Eximus units, Jade Light. Here are the basics of what you have to do in the mission. Protect this one thing, I don't know what it is, but it's green. It's pretty much a mobile defense mission in terms of time, but with one thing instead of 3. Then you move on to the elevator part, where there is a green orb that moves onto the elevator. Thankfully, you don't have to protect it, so you don't need to worry about its health. Not yet at least. You just need to collect green vials or vestigial motes. These are found around the map as you go up, or it's found by killing enemies. You then throw these into the orb on the elevator. It's very hard to miss. As you're doing this, you'll ascend to the top. You'll get a boost on the elevator speed if you add enough motes. An optional thing you can do, which will give you more motes and give you an Arcane, is collecting sister beacons, which spawns a sister. If you don't know, a sister is from the Tenet Lich, basically Corpus Lich. This is a boss, but it's very easy to kill. Collect the 3 beacons and the sister will spawn once you reach the top. And boom, kill it, get a bonus reward, or I mean bonus rewards, plural. And also, the sister spawns in the same location, on the same side each time. So you can prepare for the sister to spawn in. Then you escort the green ball while protecting it to the extraction site. If you played the quest, then this looks familiar, at least where the extraction site is located at. Then the mission is done and you have yourself some vestigial and volatile motes. Volatile motes are the only ones that can purchase Arcanes. Now in order to use these motes, you're going to need to visit Ordis in the Larunda Relay, or the Mercury Relay. He will show all of the rewards and offerings you can purchase with these motes. The volatile motes can purchase Arcanes like Energize and Grace, which is awesome. This is if you're in a clan though, and it does take a significant number of motes. You can do the non-clan version and purchase other Arcanes with volatile motes. You can also purchase stuff with vestigial motes, so both are needed. However, vestigial motes do not get you Arcanes. Only the fat motes, the volatile motes. And what I mean here is the volatile motes are the ones that buy the really good Arcanes, the ones that are going to sell for a lot, and the ones that are going to be very helpful for you with your frame. You can buy some with vestigial motes, and those are not really for your frame, but those are good, don't get me wrong, they're just not going to sell, and they're not the rare ones that you really want to farm for. Farming for these is easy now, especially now that the elevator can have a speed boost. Because of this, the mission goes by very quickly. And to tie this in with the Arcane Dissolution, you can purchase the very cheap Arcanes and sell it or dissolve it for Phosphor, which you then can put towards the good Arcanes. Well, it's still a chance, but to purchase some for a very cheap price and be able to get a ton of Phosphor easily is a steal. When you pair these two methods together, you can farm Arcanes like nobody's business, and get good ones out of it. Now for the other methods of farming Arcanes that I'm sure you're all aware of, I will talk about what I think is good about them, or if the Arcanes are even worth it. Mirror Defense is great, just because of the few Arcanes that will allow you to purchase. The main Arcanes being Secondary Encumber and Secondary Kinship. Both of these Arcanes are great for your secondary weapon, which makes doing mirror defense missions on Mars worth it. It will take some time to get a lot of these Arcanes, but they are amazing for your secondary weapons. To purchase the Arcanes, you have to go to the Necrolisc and talk to Otak. He is right in front of you once you get to the Necrolisc. Compared to parts, they are cheap to get. It will just get expensive to get a ton of these Arcanes. These Arcanes are great, and I would recommend farming for these when you have time to. Again, the way to get these are by farming the Mirror Defense mission on Mars. Now this method is horrible. I would not recommend it, or I would not recommend doing this bounty for Arcanes specifically, but another small way of getting Arcanes, which will take a while, are doing vault runs and Necrolisc. This reward pool is pretty large, so this isn't a great way of getting Arcanes. I don't want to focus on this just because it isn't that useful, but it's still a way to get Arcanes, and in my opinion the Arcanes aren't even that good. When the Chrysalith came out, they came with some new Arcanes, ones you can buy from the Incarnate vendor, Cavallero. I like a lot of the Arcanes that he offers. I find Arcane Efficiency to be pretty useful, as well as other Arcanes for your Tenno. This works like any other syndicate, just rank up through the Chrysalith and purchase these Arcanes with standing. However, in Chrysalith there is another vendor that has 4 Arcanes. These Arcanes can be purchased with Lua Thrax, and the vendor is named Archimedian Yonta. We'll just call her Yonta. These 4 Arcanes are alright in my opinion. I would mainly just use them for Vosper. Also, the way to get these can be a bit time consuming, so this may not make sense to do. You have to do Conjunction Survival on Lua. There are 2 survivals, one is level 80 to 100, and the other is the normal level range on Lua. There is a difference between these two, besides just the level. Both of them have Thrax that spawn every 5 minutes. The amount depends on how many people are in the lobby, but if it's just you, then 2 will spawn in. In the normal level range survival, these Thrax can get killed like any other enemy. However, in the higher level survival, you have to use your operator to actually kill them once you get rid of all of their health with your frame. If you've done bounties in the Chrysalith that has dealt with Thrax, then you know what this is and how to do it. Besides the Thrax and the normal sentients that spawn every 5 minutes, this is a normal survival. You can get Lua Thrax from killing Thrax enemies, as well as having it as a reward every 5 minutes, along with either Axii or Neo Relics, somatic fibers, as well as blueprints and parts that are a part of the Varuna bundle, which are just the weapons, a burst sniper and a melee weapon, and of course Varuna's chassis, systems, and her optics. The only thing you can't get from rotation is Varuna's main blueprint, but you can get all of her other blueprints. Now another way to get Arcanes in the Chrysalith, Void Angels. Void Angels, when they are finally killed, will drop a Zeramin or Chrysalith Arcane, as well as dropping a Void Plume Quill. This one is basic, so if you want to get standing but you also want an Arcane, just do a bounty that has you find an angel and kill it. This makes it so that the angel is marked on the map and you don't have to go around the map to find it. But in my experience with Chrysalith bounties that don't have the angel as an objective, I usually find the angel anyways. Alright, now we get to the basics of Arcanes, where everyone pretty much started. Eidolons, Cetus, and Fortuna. Eidolon hunting was the first big way in getting Arcanes. This is where Arcanes were introduced, if I'm not wrong. Everybody and their mom were doing Eidolon hunts or leeching off of people who knew how to do Eidolon hunts. This is where you got the most famous Arcane, Arcane Energize. Just to be clear, Eidolon hunts can get very annoying, especially when you have people who don't know what they are doing. I would recommend watching a video on how to start Eidolon hunting. A video I would recommend you go watch is this video here by Warframe Flow called The Ultimate Beginner's Guide for Eidolons and Warframe. This is great to get you started in Eidolon hunting where you're actually doing something. You will want everything he talks about, so if you don't have it, then please hold off on doing Eidolon hunts until you get it. There are other ways to get Arcanes, and if you go into this bounty unprepared, then you'll just piss off everyone who is actually doing something in it. Anywho, Eidolons are a bounty on Cetus, which you can only do at night, and it can be complicated and annoying at times, but this method is pretty outdated now. The other ways of getting Arcanes, mostly for amps in your Tenno, is through Quill Onkko, aka the Quills, and Little Duck, aka Vox Solaris. You'll find this out, but the only way to talk to them is by being in your Operator or Drifter form. Quill Onkko is available in Cetus as soon as you get there, while Little Duck is really only available when you've hit rank 5 with Fortuna. This rank is called Old Mate, in case you are confused. Once you hit this rank, you can do the bounties in the back room where the Little Duck is. This is where you can get Torres easily, which is how you rank up with her, as well as having specific systems that she will also need to rank up. So you can really only rank up with Little Duck once you hit rank 5 with Fortuna. This is when you become an Old Mate. You can purchase Arcanes through Little Duck's offerings, as well as Quill Onkko's offerings. These are basic Arcanes for amps in your Tenno or Drifter. I recommend ranking up through both of them since the amp assembly is needed. The Arcanes are pretty cheap as well, and if you've done Eidolon hunts, you'll have no problem with standing for the Quills. Again, basic way of getting Arcanes, just get standing and purchase them similar to the vendor in the Chrysalith. Now those are the main ways of farming arcanes. Another way of getting an arcane, melee one specifically, is from specific enemies in the cavea, which you'll figure out. They are good for melees, but they aren't efficient to farm unless you're getting standing for the cavea and have to do the bounties. Again, the rest are simple, just get standing and purchase arcanes. These enemies are called the Mocking Whisper or just Whisper, and the Gruzzling. You'll come across the Gruzzling in every type of mission, even Netrocells. The Whisper is found randomly by going into a random side room or by having it as a thing you have to do in a bounty in the cavea. Again, Dissolution is amazing because you can get arcanes by just getting rid of cheap or useless arcanes, but using volatile motes to purchase arcanes is by far the best way of getting arcanes. To be able to purchase arcanes like Arcane Energize with just a few runs of Ascension is great. You can easily upgrade arcanes with how cheap some of the other arcanes are, as well as easily getting Phosphor to hopefully get better arcanes. This whole method is very useful and will be the easiest for you. With this new mission quicker than it was before to complete, as well as getting more motes and an arcane from the sister, you can farm arcanes like crazy. Don't forget, this can get you a good amount of platinum as well. Now that is about it for this video. If you have any questions, make sure you leave them down in the comments below, and I will get to it as soon as I can. I hope I explained every method well, especially the best way to get arcanes, since that is the reason you clicked on this video. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.